we're now recording for Palace from Ruin,
Yeah,
and you're
one of
now.
my favorite, somewhat updated fucking rap podcasts.
Yeah, I don't update nearly as much as I listen to
Yeah,
podcasts. I'm obsessed with them,
I know.
and I encourage others. Like,
Well, without a commute now, like I'm so far back. Like only time I listen to them now is when I'm like washing dishes and shit. But because I used to be in the car 3 hours a day, so I'd be banging through podcasts.
really? So people are listening to less stuff. That's
Way less.
crazy. That's
Yeah, way
crazy.
less. No commutes, nothing.
Yeah, but yeah, I get it. I guess. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
but
unless you're like a truck driver or like delivering packages and food, you're not really in the car a lot.
it's true. Were you listening to a lot of podcasts before you started Call Out Culture?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that
Okay.
was shit. Because it was, I was listening to them like 10 years ago when it was like Bill Simmons, and that was it.
Were you
You know what I mean? It was
doing
like,
any before Call Out Culture?
nah. Me and Castro, it'd be funny because I would always have these conversations. Me and Castro talk every day, and usually we talk in the morning because he would be going to work, I would be going to work. And then we would talk like on the way home or something, or maybe like once during the day if some, crazy sports or music thing happened.
Right.
Yeah, so I would be having these combos with Castro. I'm like, yo, like, people should hear this shit. Like, this is so funny.
Right?
And it
Any
would just
good
be like,
conversation, even in-person studio conversations, like,
yeah. So I just started thinking that the whole time. I was like, this should be this should be something people should hear because they only hear of us, he and I specifically, when we were making records. There
but
was no like, active place.
but so you were listening to a ton, and then
Hmm.
then it sparked the idea. You'd probably seen a few of your friends slowly and surely start them, but
Right.
then you were like, me and Castro on the phone. These are funny conversations. They're interesting,
100%.
and
Yeah.
then boom. But when it started, you started it with Alaska, right?
Right.
Okay, so the three. So you just that's dope. And then, how did that come
Yeah.
about? Why did Alaska jump in the mix?
It's funny. So me and Castro were talking, we're doing one, and things were getting close, and I was like doing a lot of research with buddies of mine. These one cast I'm friends with, they have a comedy one called Nerds with Words, and they were like breaking it down all for me, like, yo, this is how you can do it. This is how much it will cost probably if you want to do, storage for all the files, and
Right, not prohibitive,
and
but you
then
got to spend a little bit of money.
yeah. And then so we were looking at that, and then we were gonna have like a podcast network, and we were thinking about like shows and who would do what, and like Billy Woods was gonna do something at some point,
Yeah,
Willie
yeah,
Green,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and this whole thing, and then we were all like really mapping it out, and then it just died off, and I was like, damn. So then I don't even remember how it happened with Alaska, but me and Alaska were just like texting and kicking it heavy.
Oh, okay,
Um,
sorry to stop you, but so you and Castro were really plotting a little bit of a grander thing at first.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So you and him would have a show, but you got all your but that kind of died
Right.
off, and now you were just chatting with Alaska, and then
Yeah, so I was just talking with Alaska, and then Alaska would be having like these fucking left field crazy takes on shit where I'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I love talking to this guy because he literally goes against the grain on like every agreed upon rap
But
point,
that's
political point, entertainment point of everybody I know.
but
And
the
I love
funny
him.
thing is, he really does, but then at the same time,
Yeah.
he really doesn't. Like, it's so funny the things you can find that you're like, yo, you're against that? But of course, you know five other things. That's what I love about the shit, debating the shit, because it's like, you really do share like a million things
It's the
that you
shit.
both think are fire. So when
Right.
one pops out that you're like, what? It makes for such a fun debate.
Right.
Like,
It just lets you like it's not as binary or like my team versus your team. It's like, well, some of these we're on the same team. Some of these we're not. These other things we're not. We don't agree on.
it's always so
fun.
surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And so I was talking with him, and I was like, yo, this dude is so out there, but in a genuine, thoughtful way, and doesn't give a shit that people disagree with him or he disagrees with them. And then so then he and I were talking about doing one because I was like, this would be dope because he and I have a record coming out, and the group name was gonna be called Call Out Culture.
I remember. Do I remember that?
I don't know, but so then that was the idea. So then I was like, yo, we should name the podcast because it would be the first time a rap group named a podcast after themselves or vice versa. That'd be funny. And then so we were like, so then I said to Alaska, I was like, yeah, but me and Castro have talked about doing a show too. I was like, we should all do it. But then keep the name Call Out Culture, and then we'll name our album something else. So that's kind of just how it started. It's been like almost about a year and couple weeks since our first episode. So it's been about a year.
And after that conversation with Alaska, you guys pulled the trigger. You recorded.
Yeah, and so we kind of did like a bunch of like dry run, like rehearsal episodes to see what it would sound like. We just did them amongst ourselves and try it out, like work the kinks out and think about things and, plot and plan. So by the time we aired an episode, I think we did like 4 or 5 together before we put one out. And we're like, okay. So then this way we had a few in the stash for later to be like, that one was actually worth keeping. Let's put it out there. Or other ones like, nah, you know what? When we listen to it, like these are the things we should probably not do, or that's not a good idea. So it was kind of like rehearsed before we did it. Now we just do it, try to do it every single week as best we can.
Right. Well, that's dope, man. Yeah, I'm excited. I've been listening for a while, and I'm
Thanks,
excited
bro.
about it. And like, I want. There's so many friends that I still have that haven't done theirs, and I'm like, you're gonna do one eventually. Just stop, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. And like, it is completely true. I think there's a dichotomy in two complete truths that it's absurd and ridiculous and unnecessary how many there are.
Right.
100% true. Not debatable.
Right.
But it's also there's a couple for everybody. Like they're who cares?
Yeah, like we get about probably like 200 to 400 to 500 plays per week, some around that. Some do more than that, some do way less. Some are like when we do something topical, like anything else, it spikes. Other ones, if we're just like shooting the shit about something we think is really cool and maybe no one else cares, we don't care. It's out. You know what I mean? Like,
it's an exercise in craft. I mean, it's centered around a craft and a love that you share, and like it's a reason for people to get together and have conversations as you get older. A bunch of comedians talk about this on their podcast. They're like, "Yo, I only do this so I can talk to my friends. I don't even see. I was genuinely friends with these people, but I don't see them anymore at all. But now I do because we all have podcasts."
That's exactly what it is. Like I talk to Castro all the time anyway.
But now other people, yeah.
But now, like like even like these roundtables we've been doing lately. Like the converging of worlds where I'm talking to like 2 or 3 of Alaska's homies. Now they become my homies. And then I'm bringing 2 or 3 of my dudes. And then Castro bringing someone. He's like, so now, and then everyone's having a good time talking about RZA versus Premier, or just everyone's drinking, shooting the shit about something insane. Like to me, it's like more like a community of people, like you said, that are just like
really casual
having
fun and kind of easy to do way to keep building a network.
Mm-hmm. And me and Castro were fucking chatterbox ass dudes anyway. Like we're the dudes in a relationship with the girl where the girl's like, all right, can you please shut the fuck up for like 20 minutes? Like that's us. My wife is like, can you just stop talking? I love it. I love talking. That's why I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
My pops had George, John, Ringo, and Paul. I had RZA, Jizza, Deck, and Dirt Dog. My pops had George, John, Ringo, and Paul. I had Ray, Ghost, Method Man, and Dirt Dog. Wu-Tang is my Beatles. Wu-Tang is my Beatles. Wu-Tang is my Beatles. Wu-Tang is my Beatles. My first rap's 97, trying to be INS. Memorize the triumph lines, living through the liner notes. My father played Revolver on vinyl, Abbey Road. Dial 1-900 Raekwon, listen close. Off that Brooklyn Zoo, playing Takao on cassette, and the bass would boom. But the revolution number 9 was wild as wildflower. Ringo had the sideburns and the fly attire. Paul McCartney was the one, aka Billy Shears. RZA, aka Bobby Steels. Wu Gambino's was a Sgt. Pepper's ethos. John Lennon posted up all on the East Coast. I walked on Abbey Road when I was 23. South Street, Ghostface, he signed my CD. VHS copies of the One Submarine. I tried to get a title like Wu Killer B.
You dropped a new project today.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
It's Row House Whispers. Me and Ray West from the BX.
So he's from the Bronx.
Correct. Yeah, he's official, man. That dude he was a dude I was just a big fan of for a minute, because I saw his name, like he recorded a lot of Marsburg by Rock Marciano, which is like my favorite album of the 2010s. And then I saw him pop up with a AG. They did a record called Everything's Berry.
Okay.
And then he did a record called Love NY, which has that like Cool Keats all over it. Rock Marcy's on it. OC. Like it's such a dope record. But he had like this he was like the first like New York producer who was from that era, but he was doing like very sparse, like spacious, like a lot of reverb, minimal sound. He wasn't just doing like 2-bar loops like jazz shit, or you know,
So,
like
Red Apples.
that's him.
And he kind of just uses both names sort of interchangeably.
So Red Apples is his label.
Okay, Red Apples is his label. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like they've done shit with like Blue and done a lot of shit. They put like a lot of record, a lot of 45s, 12 inches. Yeah, like I would encourage people like to really fuck with their catalog. Their catalog is they're like DITC adjacent through AG, who was down, you know, like Fat Joe and Diamond D and Buck Wild and all them. So he's like like on the outer realms of that, but like very in his own world, but still like classic New York without. He just has like a different. It's like his version of that style to me that no one else really does. It's kind of like a game of telephone, like how, you know, like trip hop was like the British answer to rap, or you know, for a while in the early '90s, it was like, oh, you guys do that? Okay, here's our version of it. So to me, it's like, what's up?
Did you guys jump in the studio together? Where did this where did this project get recorded?
Nah, I did everything here in Philly, and
So you guys just talked online for a while.
Yeah, and so when he sent me beat packs a minute ago because he was on Future Former Rapper. He did a song called Drunk History, and I was like,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Drunk History, I was like, I just wanted, at the time, I was like, this will just be dope if I just get him one time ever to like make my track listing look hot as shit. Like to let people know, like, I got enough juice now to get Ray West on my shit.
Okay.
Because the people that know him and like are really into that shit, like that would be like a nice little notch on my belt. I'm like, all right, dope. But he was always like super accessible and humble and productive. He was always dropping records too. So I was like, okay. And then I got him again on 96 Mentality. He did a Spy versus Spy with me and Vic Spencer. And so with that joint, the same thing. I came to him with a very specific idea what I wanted. He sent me joints. And then I pitched it to Vic Spencer. He picked that beat out of the beats I sent. So I was like, all right, cool. So the same thing. I was like, oh, this will look good, you know, for publicity to have Vic and Ray West together on my stuff. So then after that, we were talking like we should do some more work. So probably about last year, I did a couple joints, and then I got jammed up doing the Career Crooks record, which will be out this year, and then another record with DJ Chong Wizard that's coming out. It's getting mastered now.
Nice.
And then so like 2 weeks ago, he just hit me up being like, "Yo, I know you're locked down. I'm locked down. I'm trying to drop an EP every Friday. Do you want to drop something?" I was like, "Yeah." So I said, "Yo, we have a couple songs done already. Do you remember from last year?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Why don't we do like, you know, 3 or 4 more songs?" I said, "All right." So within a week or two, we just did them, and that was it. And Alaska got on one song real quick, and we did it. And Ray was like super just positive and upbeat and excited and inspired, and it was getting me excited. You know what I mean? Because just being locked down, it's hard to want to create anything. Right. You know, you're just kind of, you're not doing anything. You're not moving around. You know, you're not really interacting with people. And so he was just checking in a lot and just being like just super positive. And I was like, man, this is making it easy. You know, and then he was coming with ideas, and like all the arrangement and his mix downs were super quick, and he was adding things I didn't even think of. It was very like intuitive without a lot of words being spoken, honestly, about like how we were going to do it. We just kept doing it. So Row House Whispers is out now. And so today he was like, man, the response has been crazy. We got to do something. We got to keep going.
Well, listen, man, like, the project is crazy because I like all your shit. And then I listened to this today, and I'm like, it's funny hearing you talk about it now, how quickly it came together. Because when I'm listening to it, there's a certain word that kept popping into my mind, and the word was relaxed. And like, you're just very casually dropping these like awesome, like, you know, wit and wisdom bars, and just like, I don't know, you feel so in the pocket and comfortable in these productions, and like, yeah, this project came out crazy. I feel like. It's fucking awesome. And yeah, Ray West, I never checked his shit. Row House Whispers, what's that, a nod to Philly?
Yeah. So that's like a name of this on that's the name of one of the songs. And then he was just like, yo, I think we should keep this as the title of the project.
Cool.
And I was like, yeah, because I live in a row house. I'm talking to you from a row house. So and it was kind of like his vision and idea of what Philly would be. So he's in the Bronx. I don't know if he's ever been in Philly ever, But it's kind of like he did like a BX to Philly intro that he put together, and then my homie Shane Great, who did a remix at the end. He's a great producer in Philly, and he's an awesome photographer. So I happened to like bookmark that image on his Instagram from like a couple months ago, and I was like, I think this is the cover.
Right.
So I hit up Shane and I was like, yo, I think this would be it. Would you want to? Can we get this? And he's like, yeah. So why don't you remix the song too, so you can get on the record?
Oh, nice.
And he was like, yeah, he did that in like 3 days. I mean, I told him, I said, yo, we're trying to drop this like next week. Can you get me a remix? He was like, yep.
Well, that's
So he
definitely
remixed,
88 Style is my shit. That might be my. It's either that one or the one with Alaska Doobie. That shit.
Oh yeah, Doobie Brothers.
Crazy.
It's cool because it's like it's gonna be interesting to hear people's like reactions to songs, whatever. Because he's only 7 songs, but it's like everything was like Alaska the same way. He writes super quick, turn around fast. We talk every day, and I told him, I was like, yo, I got this project with Ray. He was like, oh my god, I'm such a fan. Can I get on it? I'm like, yeah. I said, here's some joints, pick them out. He's like, I want this one. I said, all right. I said, let's go back and forth on it. And then Ray arranged the record to where that's the first song. So like Alaska's the first voice you hear.
Yeah.
I always like that. I always like when you hear someone else rather than like the featured guy. You know what I mean?
I do like that shit.
I love that.
It reminds me. So this, that dude Shirt that I work with.
Yeah, sure. Dope.
He put his barber first on the track. Gave him a whole track, the first track on his last album, the Pure Beauty, and I thought that shit was hilarious.
Oh, that's who that is on that album?
Yeah, the dude sounded like Nas for a minute too.
Yeah.
And that's his fucking barber. He's not even a rapper.
Oh, that's the coolest.
He fucking rapped his ass off on that track.
That's the best. That's the one thing that's like sadly really lost when you're not. Like, because the studio used to be like such a magical experience. Like, I used to have to go to studios.
Right.
And when you would go, it's like you would bring a lot of people because it was exciting. And there wasn't a lot of studios people would just go to. So you would have like your friend there who was a barber, and this dude is like kind of selling weed on the side. And then this dude over here is like, he's the older dude that used to rap. And then there's where it would always be like a mixed crowd of people, even though you'd only be there for like 2-3 hours because everyone just like wanted to be in the room. With all the machinery and shit and
hear the
whatever.
energy, the music, yeah.
Yeah, and you would hear that like when you play like the Infamous by Mobb Deep, like that whole album is like their entire neighborhood. Their whole neighborhood's in that record.
Go. I played pinball and Lobos in his back room. My man used to get beat with Big Mama's vacuum. Or the wiffle ball bat. The yellow one, the one we bought for 85 cents. Spent days on the pay, got robbed with small blades. Robbed milkmen, play ball, milk crates. Hot chain fence, we them sandlot outlaws. Buns broke me off with bootleg alcohol. Never safe, wait, rewind tapes. Play third base, Italiano summer nights, water ice grape. Upper deck, grippy card, signature was fake. Derek got chased by the feds. Ran through the crib and I played Genesis with Freddie Fred. The hobby shop put 1,000 on his head. I stole his Nike hat and never saw him again. Peace, now you can't leave. Now you can't leave. Lock the front door like now you can't leave. Now you can't leave. Oblivious to fate that awaits you. 30 years old and you never had a breakthrough. Stay cool. Now you can't leave.
So you got new other shit in the can. Something's being mastered. That's dope.
Yeah,
it's always a good feeling because it's in the can for you.
Yeah, man. I'm that type of person where so you and I did a session a few months back. We were supposed to do a session back last month. Like the day before everything got shut down.
Oh yeah, it's true. Wasn't that long ago?
No, it wasn't. It feels really long ago.
Wow, that feels so fucking long ago.
Doesn't it? It was probably.
And the reason you didn't come is because of the shit.
Yes, because it was March 13th. That's when the session was booked.
It was the day after the show.
Yep.
Me and Fat Tony walked up to that show. When we got there, we were like, "Oh, we got the date wrong." So we sat down and got a beer anyway because it was so empty. And then Alaska came over, and I was like, "Oh, we didn't get the date wrong." He's like, "Nah, there's just no one here because of the Corona shit."
Right.
And we were just sitting there, and I introduced them, and then I realized you weren't coming, so that was only a month ago.
Yeah, and then the next day you text me like, "Yo, we're not doing this," and I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to text you. We can't do the session." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't feel." And at the time, you know what it was? My wife had the flu the week before.
Fuck.
And then that week, my son had the flu for 6 days.
Jesus.
And so I was like, yeah, man, I took off work. I was dead to come out with you guys like the night before, hang out and record that day and get busy. And I was like, yeah, it's just not going to work out. And I was pissed. And then like the next week, that Monday, everything was like, all right, the CDC, you can't gather more than 10 people at a time. It was crazy.
It all happened right away.
And then my job, like, they were like, yo, have you been to New York recently? And I was like, no. Last time I was there was December for the last show we did, for the Beer Wax joint. We did our last session. My first session.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, this is what I want to talk to you about. Here we go. You ready? Because we haven't gotten spicy, me and you. We got to get spicy with it.
Okay.
We got to give the people what they want. So what I like, this is why I like Alaska, and this is why when I was listening to you guys talk, and even when I was kicking it with you, when I was up there, is like, as time goes on, and I'm realizing like how much, like the wokeness is dying.
The wokeness is dying. Interesting.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so and we've talked about it on our podcast in spurts, especially when we had Blueprint on like last year, where he said it, where he was like, woke is the new mixtape.
Okay.
Like woke is the new SoundCloud, where it's like just some cool shit for everybody to be up and pretend they're up on. And we're like, yo, like, yeah, I'm indie. I know about SoundCloud. I got a mixtape. It was like wokeness was that shit where people could talk that, oh yeah, I'm woke. I see what it is out here.
Okay.
And it's like, that's all it was. It was like
but
a
now
passing.
It's dying, is what you're saying. So you're talking about the commodification of wokeness, people who use.
No, I mean, just the idea of it. And what Castro always gets on my ass about is he's like, but I'm from an era when that was called like gaining your consciousness.
Okay.
Because he's like, you got the 80s, 90s activism, tied in with like, what's it called? Like Afrocentricity, Public Enemy, what I mean? Like that world. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So he looks at it as an extension of that.
But
and
now tell me what you mean. Tell me what you mean about how wokeness is dying. Like, so, yeah, tell me more about that.
Okay, so it became a thing. But so after Trump won, right? It's when all right, it's like a three-pronged effect. Bernie doesn't get the nomination. Hillary gets it. Everyone in the world says Hillary's going to win. Then it gets super muddy and gross. Then Trump wins. Okay, so that everyone goes into meltdown reactionary mode, right?
Right.
And what's interesting is, if you know history about the Vietnam War and then go into the early 70s during and post Nixon, America was in a similar place, the end of the 60s, racial inequality, feminism, the fatigue of Vietnam, counterculture.
Right.
You had, like, Americans back then didn't have social media, YouTube, Fox News,
not at all,
MSNBC,
but it was still similar
right?
to what was going on in 2016.
Yeah, it was very incendiary. So where you had people in the 70s literally blowing shit up.
Right.
People would just blow things up, blow
Physical
up buses.
activism, yeah.
Literally.
Direct
like,
action.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Like, for real. Because they would be so shell-shocked from all the things I just said, like from the wrapping up of the 60s, Kent State, all of these things, right? So when you look at that, it's like the early 70s was really wild because like the collective trauma people felt from all of these things happening back to back to back on top of each other. So when you hit, 2016 going to 2017, started in 2015 with Trump and then Bernie and then Hillary and then Trump
a lot
wins.
Of keyboard activists.
Correct. But it then created, because I don't think any of us are like particularly hard right-wing dudes, with Charlottesville and then all that shit and Richard Spencer and all these fucking weirdos. But then on the left, you had like the social justice warriors. Then you have the MSNBC, like conspiracy wing of people.
Right.
So in between all of that, you had the people that are like, yeah, like I'm woke, like I see through things. See, I get it. Like I see where all these invisible strings that are all connected, and everything's racist, and everyone's a Nazi, and then everything is capitalism, and then we should have, and it's like it was all of this chatter because everyone was like traumatized. It was like a collective trauma.
You mean the results of 2016 election were a collective trauma?
Because it started in 15, right? It started in 15 with
right.
Trump getting him winning the primary for the Republicans, and then Hillary was just absolutely unpopular, like unbelievably unpopular. So the past 3 years has been like this woke wave, like Women's March, and then people like canceling people and the show. So there's been like real movements and real things that are occurring, and real times when people are victims of severe injustice. You know what I mean? Like kids in cages, child. Like there's real things that have happened.
So are you talking about normalization in terms of the wokeness dying? Are you, when you say the wokeness is dying, you're using it in a positive connotation, a negative connotation, a neutral connotation?
I'm making a neutral, meaning like all these people claim like, yes, yeah, I'm woke now, or like,
right.
And like you said earlier, like the commodification of it, where there was a lot of like more commercials, ad campaigns, politicians, not politics, like celebrities,
right,
and like brewing in this woke culture. And then it kind of hit in 2018 when the blue wave hit, where you have people running and winning for the first time on like a mega progressive agenda, right? That didn't look like people had ever won before,
right? Which
was awesome. Like you want people that are new blood and new backgrounds. But what you just saw with the primaries is it doesn't do shit if you don't win.
Of course not.
And so what's interesting is it's like it's you can be woke all day. You can be right-wing conservative. You can be all these things. But ultimately, it's about power. And that's the thing that's been sticking out to me. You know what I mean? And so that's what I said, like wokeness is dying, meaning like it's dying because there's no power behind it, and power is what gets you change.
Well, power and capital are interchangeable, I think, in certain scenarios. But yeah, it's funny because like I'm definitely one of those people who was super reactionary and still am. Like
everybody was, yeah.
But I'll make grandiose statements like these people are Nazis, and I'll stand by some of those statements, and I'll also admit that sometimes I'll use that way too widely. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't really have qualms about using it widely, because at the center of it, if someone challenges me, I'll be able to like back it. You know what I mean? Back it up at a more core. But wokeness dying is definitely happening. I think I would call it like normalization, which goes on forever. But there's a normalization of a continued normalization of like deep conservatism and regressive conservatism and stuff like that. It's super interesting, and like I'm in a weird position because I'm this weird guy who's like I'm an advocate for violence, which is a super fucked up thing to say.
Why would you be an advocate? I'm fascinated by it.
It's like a logical mathematics sort of thing where I don't really see. We either have to believe certain things or not. So do we believe that money exists and people write laws? Are those objectively true?
Right.
So those people do exist and they really do things. And those people, I think there's more than enough overwhelming evidence that prove that those people only work for a very small contingent of people, and that directly harms other people, but they don't live in any fear of what they do. But what they do provides constant waking fear for disenfranchised people. Like people wake up under capitalism and they live scared. You know what I mean? But these people who write the laws, who are real people with homes and like not mythical creatures, but like real, like usually men and usually of a certain age, you know what I mean? Don't live in any fear of retribution of what they do. And I don't really see them changing what they do ever until they live in the same sort of waking fear that they inflict. And that's like a really dark and fucked up way to look at it. So I don't really like push this agenda too much, but if you really ask me, I'm basically an advocate for violence, like soft violence at first. I would, if it was up to me, I would say a general strike would be worth one shot. You know how ridiculous and impossibly that would be to organize, you know what I mean? But I would at least go for that first, but after that, I think it's a pretty small it truly is a small number of people in terms of Congress and lobbyists and you know what I mean? And law writers who just need to live in physical fear of being like, yo, change that law, like now, or we're going to fuck you up. Like, or you're going to get fucked up.
That's wild.
You know what I mean? Like, so, I don't know.
So
Direct action.
what if the shoe's on the other foot?
So, and then when this gets really explored with, I'll go, my good friend who I trust a lot, he's like, yeah, but the government has the guns. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones that own the army and the police force. So you lose the battle of violence. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really challenging for me. But when I explore it, here's how I'll ask. Do you kind of agree with him?
I as a practical baseline of thinking, yes, because who else would own
all the guns? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So
who else would own that?
Right. If there's a revolution against the government owns the army. So my thing is like, okay, but when you really break that down into a micro level, you're talking about police officers and army members who, yes, they listen to their command and they will turn their guns on an enemy if they're told a certain group of people are their enemy. But if it reaches a scale of what I'm talking about, think about the people that they'd have to turn their guns on, and then think about their salary and like what they're really getting out of it. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, but these motherfuckers, now I got to turn my gun on this member of my family, and I'm really you're not paying me enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, they're not in that circle. And I feel like if it really reached that level of violence, they would quickly, I don't know, I feel like there's something to be explored there. You see what I'm saying?
We know now, milk the whole cow and split the growth. See, here it goes, drinking by the fireplace. 80s baby Dire Straits, lay it down like saxophone inside its case. Fresh, coming from a violent state. Late at night I lie awake, thought of moving out to LA where the life is higher stakes. Going back and forth, stay alert like Adderall. I recognize this Run DMC, MCs always had the call. Not mechanical, never move like cattle do. I switch my flow and switch my name like Chris Jackson from LSU. Grab your valuables, never took sabbaticals. Wrecking crew with red apples, boy we are compatible. Always been dope, fate hangs but by a rope. A young man making $8 an hour, he got them higher hopes. Get no higher quotes, Honda needs new tires though. I had to slow it down, no more Captain Morgans and Diet Cokes. Chill at sugar moms with only lint inside my palms. Two choices, wave the flag or build the bomb. No brainer, ladder choice, buckle down, data boy. My father said that
it's a really fucked up dark thought, but I don't see politics to me as just theater, really.
Here's an interesting counter to that. Ready?
I'm ready.
Because these are things that would have never occurred to me, and so and I love one of the things too I love about doing music all these years is you get to meet people with like super interesting, creative, weird, zany, fresh
takes,
intriguing, challenging viewpoints on the world.
Right.
Like all my friends that just have a job and go to work and have a family, that's dope. I do the same things. But they're just like, yo, why isn't sports on right now? That's like the only thing on their mind. Like nothing else matters.
The creative critical thinking gets less used.
Yeah. And so the thing, so when you're saying about violence, it's like, I was like that when, again, like 2016, 17, was like, yo, we should punch these Nazis in their face. We should make these people terrified and da-da-da. And because everyone was angry. It was wild. Like, when you really think about it, it's not that even long ago, but it was like very rugged. And so now, but if when you think about violence, and it's interesting because me and Castro did a show, and it was like an activist type of background where they had like this dude who's a former skinhead come out and talk for like the first 20, 30 minutes of the show.
Shit.
And he disrupted and destroyed the Grand Wizard and the Klan in Georgia, this one guy. And so he talked about why he became a skinhead. It was because, he had a whole life of you know, his parents neglected him. His dad was abusive, alcoholic. His mother was like emotionally cold. He was bullied in high school, and you know, he needed like that sense of belonging, that sense of self, and he got wrapped up in that shit in his 20s. And he talked about like how he's got to live with that the rest of his life, like rolling up on people and beating the hell out of them for nothing because they were black or because they were Jewish or
Right.
whatever. And he talked about like he loved getting assaulted or beaten back because that had helped him justify his rage as to why he had to keep being the aggressor.
Yeah, it was a fight.
And it was right. So whether he won or lost, it didn't matter because he only felt normal from like physical violence stemming from when he was a kid. And how he was like, if someone would have just like been like, nah, man, like you can just beat me up. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to do anything. Go ahead. He would be like, he wanted like that counter. Like he wanted that friction back. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right. So
he did that to get that reaction back. Like you're not doing it
then he
just to
became
rock
an
someone's
activist
bells.
and like,
Right. And so he helped turn these dudes in the
what
Georgia
made him
chapter.
turn?
So I can't remember his whole thing. It was pretty lengthy. He was a pretty amazing guy, but it was just like a lot of like counseling and therapy and realizing like he was only doing, he didn't even believe that shit. He just wanted like the physical hatred and anger and violence because that was all he knew from how he grew up. So it wasn't even really, he believed that shit. So he hasn't been a member for like 15 some years, but it was pretty powerful. And then on my end, like spiritually, it's like, because I've been a practicing Buddhist for like 9 years. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
And when you resort to violence, you are like, put it this way, nothing, like literally nothing positive will happen.
So when you in Buddhism, like resorting to violence, is there room for defense in Buddhism? Not even physical
No.
defense, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, like yeah, if someone's like trying to like rock your bells, you can like put your hands up, but ultimately, you're not, the person who's doing it, something is broken and damaged, and they're suffering. A person who's striking you is suffering.
So
Like something is happening to them that where they're out of control.
right. And then this is where my dilemma comes in, is because like the violence that I'm describing, that would be like violence towards lawmakers, I don't really see it.
Like Dark Knight, like Bane, when you like lock down the city.
I never saw that, but
Oh, you never seen the joint, the
Nah.
Dark Knight Rises? Oh, that's your movie right there, dude.
But
Oh
no,
my
see,
God, you'll love it.
yeah, I'll probably, yeah, but I know those stories and I know the Joker story, and see, it's different kind of what I'm describing because it's more of like a mathematical equation for me, and it's more of a defense, not a violence, because essentially people will be like, you cannot be the first person to start violence, you cannot inflict violence, but
Right.
you often find people that will say if someone punches you, you punch back. There's
Right.
there's room for that. There's space for that in morally correctness in people's minds.
Mhm.
And the violence that I'm describing is, in my opinion, quite literally defense. And like,
You're saying to assault a person who can enact something that could harm
well, it's
50,000
like,
people.
what I was advocating for is the fear, right? Like the fear of their physical space. I think that's the only thing that would change their minds to write the laws differently, and that doesn't need to mean physically harming their bodies. They just need to feel that, because I think the laws that they write, that's what they do, both psychologically and physically, harm
So let me ask you this.
the human bodies of the people that they write the laws against.
Right.
That's
So
a
let me ask you
direct
this.
mathematical connection.
So for self-preservation, do you think it would be in the realm of of self-preservation for a person like that to enact harsher, more strict things to keep them even further away?
Correct. So because they have the military at their will, right? That's what I was talking
That's what I'm
about
saying.
before.
Like I feel like, you know,
So-
it's kind of like throwing rocks at a hornet's nest.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Take it to its logical conclusion. Go all the way. Let's say this shit really sparked off. That's why I was kind of bringing up that conversation about, do you really see these real men who will have to hold the guns if we're talking about this actually happening, and then look at the people that they're going to have to hold the gun against, once those people become like a larger and larger in number, it's going to start to include certain people that they're like, yo, I can't do this. Like, there's only 100 people on this side that are telling me to turn my, like, I don't really see it. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't trust cops. You know what I mean? Who thinks that the police force should be abolished. Like, I really don't even see them if it got to that level. They're not getting paid enough, my dude. Like, again, I believe in humanity enough and bodily autonomy enough that, like, if it were really forced to that level of violence, people would see the true difference, that it's not some mythological made up woke thing to say that there's like a certain contingent of people who control what is essentially fake, but they control currency and capital. A more encompassing title would be capital. They control the capital on a worldwide and even countrywide scale. Those men are real, and they're small in number. But if it got to that level of violence, there'd be groups of, army and police or whatever that would be like, yo, we're only protecting like 100 of these motherfuckers. What the fuck?
Right.
I got to shoot my like cousin? The fuck? Like, are you even going to let me into the bunker? Like, we're destroyed. Like, nah, they're not. Like, they're going to use you, and then like, and you'll be gone too. You see what I'm saying? Like,
and you know what's fascinating? I'm going to hit you with this. So if you had like any enlightened being, meaning a person that's just like, I have wisdom, I understand suffering. No, like an enlightened being is someone that's like
not self-actualized, but enlightened.
Right. No, like an enlightened person is like, they literally can only love you and see the goodness in you, like literally, because they've realized how the only thing that makes anything happen is how your mind reacts to it, and they've mastered their mind, where they're like, my house could be on fire and it won't affect how I feel, because my house is temporary,
right?
And that's fine. I can't control it anyway.
So
like an enlightened being would be like, if you were a person who's going to take my life because you're in position XYZ and you're miserable, I'm not miserable, and I'll be happy even if you take my life. It's not going to change me at all. And that's like the most crazy non-American thing to think about.
Well, it's non-violence. It's non-violence, and it's I don't know. Is that
pretty
specifically
wild.
Buddhism? That is kind of specifically.
That's
Buddhism.
100%.
The way I understand Buddhism, even as a quicker explanation, is like the elimination of want, right?
Nah. You know what? It's no, because Buddha's like, want a sandwich.
Well, no. But at the core, suffering is usually want.
Yeah, because you understand like what desire and attachment is, and how all it's doing is filling the place of something that's been eating at you that you just haven't dealt with or you don't want to see.
88 style, throwing bottles. What's up, right? Rooftop like we bring in 88. Hey yo, 88 pickups and 44 women. 88 pistons worth 44 million. 88 pies and 44 kitchens. 88 crimes and 44 witness. 88 dudes on 44 stages. $88 get you 44 stations. 88 ounces and 44 sipping. 88 graduate, 44 missing. It's like we bringing 88 back. It's like we bringing 88 back. It's like we bringing 88 back. 88 style throwing bottles. 88 draft picks, 44 athletes. 88 rappers and 44 trash heaps. 88 stars at 44 movies. 88 passes, 44 groupies. 88 Lindros, 44 Gervin. 88 homeboys, 44 burdens. 88 whiskeys and 44.
Thanks for having me on this, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, man,
whatever this airs. I love any podcast. I'm in.
Let me know when I can come on call out.
Oh man, yeah, we gotta get a good topic, man.
Yeah.
We're always like trying to pinpoint people.
Yeah, let me know.
To be on to maximize these motherfuckers.
All right, word. All right, man.
All right, man. Stay safe, dude. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, brother.
slide a knife in their own back. Talk mad shit, but they still wear throwbacks. What a joke, disgrace. Bodies turn up like Lady in the Lake. That's a Marlowe film, you wouldn't know that. You just Instagram, I'm like Kodak. Blow out with the saturated corner border. Anytime you cross, you're a corner. Send books to all my supporters. Good taste don't die of boredom. $30 bourbon rewards, you can't ball just like Fordham. Pick one when my name comes up here again. Enemy, stranger, friend. Pick one when my name comes up here again. Enemy, stranger, friend. Bad guy to the bad guys, and a good guy to the good guys, and a bad guy to the bad guys, and a good guy to the good guys. You're still rapping at 35 because you can't play softball, and you're style in a box like mothballs.